Hey, up next on the Marmy Rock Show, we've got the vocalist from a band I had the pleasure seeing out at Winterfest just a weekend or so ago. They are from Morgantown, West Virginia. We have Megan Edison from the band Writing Off Tomorrow. Megan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So it was my first time seeing you. I walked up to you after the show because I enjoyed the performance. So for folks that may also be new to your band, can you give me just kind of a brief history of the band?
Sure. We started back in 2010 or so. Back then, I kind of hadn't been in a band for a while, so I had been writing things solo, and just writing and recording on my own, and that kind of got boring and frustrating after a little while. So I decided I wanted to be in a band again, and I put up a profile on bandmix.com, and our guitarist, Casey Ringler, got a hold of me a week or two later, and he said he loved my voice and asked if he would send me a guitar track if I would write some lyrics and vocals and record them and send them back to him. So I did, and he wrote me back a couple days later saying, hey, would you like to start a band together? I'd really love it if I could get you on board with me. And I, of course, said yes, and he actually brought in his brother-in-law, Bill Wiltrout, to play bass for us, and then he knew Joe Canfield from another band he was playing in, and he brought him in to drum for us, and that's how we started. Pretty simple.
Now, when you form a band like that, you said you'd been in some other bands, and obviously sort of like, it's almost like, dating online. You meet somebody and the appearance is there. How long did it take to see like the stage chemistry was going to click and all that?
Honestly, it was really fast. We all kind of just instantly clicked. Me and Casey, when we write things together, it's like we operate on the same wavelength. So it gets done quick, it gets done well. Like, there's really no problems there whatsoever. And then Casey had actually already played with Joe and Bill in two other bands that he was in. So they kind of already had that chemistry going from playing together before. And then when I came in, I don't know, I just sort of read the room and tried to click the best I could, I guess. But yeah, everything kind of clicked together really well, really fast, and we don't really have any problems.
So you guys have an album out there now. It was released last year called Flirting with Death. So tell folks a little bit about the recording of that one. Was that done in Morgantown, or did you go somewhere else for that one?
Actually, as far as like the writing and recording initially, Casey and I actually used to live an hour apart. So I lived in Morgantown and he lived in Salisbury, PA. And so we did the little thing where he would record a part and email it to me, and I would record a part and email it back for a little while. And then once we got the songs put together, we actually played them live for a little while first before we recorded them, because we were still saving up money and, needed that merch money to get into the studio. But anyway, so yeah, once we had everything kind of worked out the way we wanted it, we went to a studio up in Pittsburgh and recorded up there.
So we had a good time seeing you at Winterfest. Tell folks a little bit about that festival and how you ended up on there.
Actually, we have a wonderful fan that we really wish we could just hire as a manager called James, or his name's James Tiller, and he kind of suggests us a lot of different places. And he's good friends with John Hovanek, who put Winterfest on, and he's kind of been a bug in his ear for a little while now, and we went up and played at Hard Times Cafe last year and got to be pretty good friends with John as well. So he decided to have us back for Winterfest, and it was a blast. I loved it. There was a lot of great talent there that night. I had never seen Small Town Titans before.
Yeah, we love those guys.
And I am now
hooked. They're an interesting band. You know what? I tell people this all the time. That we've been friends with them for years, and they're one of those bands that other bands watch. I see it happen with them all the time. They leave their merch table. Next thing I know, they're standing there. So they'll appreciate that shout out, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I loved them. I've listened to them online a little bit, but I'd never gotten to see them live yet, and I was blown away. The vocalist is like one of the most amazing male vocalists I think I've ever heard.
Hey, maybe you guys could get like a duet going, call up Phil and you guys could sing a song together.
Awesome.
Maybe do that Jacoby and In This Moment song.
Yeah, Yeah, there we go.
Hey, so I was introducing the bands that night, and I was trying to stay out of your way, but I noticed that you were rehearsing with a violin, but not rehearsing, but tuning up a violin. So tell people a little bit about the role the violin plays in your band and such.
Well, the violin, I've actually been playing since I was 5, so I've played for 25 years now. And it was one of those things, like, no one was really putting a lot of violin into a, hard rock metal setting. So we decided to give it a try. I already knew how to play pretty well, so we kind of just started writing songs to include little violin parts. And I have an electric Mark Wood's Stingray violin, and so I just started actually hooking it into a guitar processing pedal, and we just started playing with it to see where we could fit little parts here and there. And from the start, I really wanted to do like a violin guitar dual type of part, like in a solo.
Nice.
So that's where that we actually do it in our song "Stranger's Eyes." Now it's not recorded that way, unfortunately. We kind of added that later, but we do it live that way, and it's a lot of fun. And we actually have another song that we did not play that night called "Hopeless Case" that the violin is recorded in on the album. And but yeah, that's kind of how that got started. We wrote "Hopeless Case" and wanted to put a little pretty violin part in there, and just to kind of break up not really the monotony necessarily, but just kind of change the dynamic of the song a little bit to slow it down and put like a real pretty melodic violin part in it. And then we just started kind of building from there. And with this next album, I think we're going to add a lot more now that I've got my new Stingray violin that I want to play constantly. And
So your style of music, one of the things that's kind of interesting, so you take the combination, you mix in the violin, and you've got a voice that is, in your singing voice is very melodic, but then you do a lot of screaming in the band as well. So how did you get mixed up in a band? Like, what is your musical background with all those different, styles?
Well, my musical background, the majority of what I listened to growing up was like, the 90s nu metal explosion there, like Cold Chamber and Korn and Papa Roach and stuff like that. So, and Slipknot, of course. I was obsessed with the Slipknot self-titled album. So I kind of just grew up, really loving songs with growls in them and fast-paced type music and whatnot, and nu metal. And so that's where that little bit of background came from, where when I write vocals, now I try to throw a little bit of that kind of stuff in there. But, I also grew up, liking clean vocal music as well, and I was actually pretty big into kind of 1960s music, like the Beatles, the Kinks, and stuff like that. So, I had a pretty, long history of loving the melodic music as well. And yeah, I kind of just I like to change up the dynamic of songs, and I think that does it pretty well when I can go back and forth from screaming to, just clean vocals pretty quick in a song, and it makes it a little less boring for me.
Yeah, I was surprised by how quickly you could do that. You could shift on the fly like that between the two styles. Is that something you had to really work at, or did that come at kind of natural? How hard is it to switch back and forth like that?
I had to work at it for a long while. Honestly, growing up listening and singing along with Slipknot helped. Because a lot of the times, like, my singing practice happens in the car with the radio blaring. I just sing at the top of my lungs. So, but yeah, growing up listening to that kind of stuff and singing along with it really helped a lot. But yeah, I had to practice a ton, and I'm sure my neighbors hated me while I was, trying to get that clean, because it's really hard to not let your voice pop whenever you're going back and forth like that. So I had to do a lot of practice to get it clean.
So I couldn't find, and forgive me if they're out there, but I could not find any music videos yet for you guys. Have you talked about doing a music video from this album?
We actually have 2. You can actually just go to our website, www.writingofftomorrow.com. It's kind of like a one-stop shop for everything. It has links to our Facebook and Twitter. There's a link to our Tumblr account. If anybody's interested, I actually started that blog a little while ago to explain the meaning behind my lyrics on the new album.
Oh, nice.
And but yeah, there's links to the video on there. You can just watch them right on the website, or there's a link to our YouTube channel on that site too.
I must have typed something wrong. I'm usually pretty good at that. So give me tell me a little bit about them. Which 2 tunes do you have videos for? And if you're willing to give us just a little sneak about the style, what they're about, tell us a little about them.
Well, the first one we did was actually with our first album, Last Moments, that we released back in 2012. It was for our All the Blood I Need song off of that album. And it was the first one that we had really tried to do. And we do all our videos ourselves. We didn't really ever have the money to pay somebody to do them. But it was the first one that we tried to do ourselves. So we went out and rented a bunch of equipment and whatnot. And we actually recorded it in our bass player's attic because it was kind of creepy looking.
Nice.
Yeah, so we set everything up in the attic. And we set up the premise of the video where I was this deranged individual who was having a creepy little tea party with dolls that I had mutilated. And so I'm having this creepy little tea party, and I'm playing hangman with them. And because that's in our logo, I don't know if you've noticed, there's like a little hangman.
Yeah, the little stick figure hanging off the edge of the logo.
Yeah, that's our little, logo graphic. So we kind of incorporated into the video too. And I'm sitting there playing hangman with these dolls, and that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, was because they're telling me, like, look angry at the dolls. You're getting mad at them because they're not they're not giving you the correct letters. Get mad at them. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to try. But I ended up having to make everybody leave the room except Bill, who was running the camera. And I just had to, hurry up and try to learn how to act.
So people are going to want to check that out for sure now. And what's the other tune you got a video for?
Our other video is for Wither Bleed and Scream, which is off our new album. We released it as a single first, so we decided to do a video for that one. But we kind of just took a GoPro with us. We toured regionally for a year and a half or so there, and took a GoPro to every show with us. And we put all of that footage together into kind of like a live tour video. And that's the video we did for Wither Bleed and Scream. And we just put that up a couple months ago. It's not been up too long.
So we're going to check send people over to your website to look for that for sure. So, hey, one more thing. What do you guys got coming up next? I know you just did the Winterfest show. What are you guys working on now? Are you going to be doing some touring, some writing, or what do you got coming up next?
We got a lot coming up. We actually are in the process of trying to write our next album. And then in April, I believe, April 16th is our next big festival-type show. We're doing the ECMC Kick Cancer for Kids event that we do every year. And it's a really great event that the East Coast Metal Confederacy puts together every year. And all of the proceeds go to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, so we do that. We've done that for the last 2 or 3 years, I think now. And but we go every year. They invite us back, and so that's coming up in April. But until then, because we live in West Virginia and Pennsylvania, where there is horrible weather in the winter, we kind of try to keep this point in time in the year for writing, so we're not traveling a whole lot and dying on the road in the snow.
Totally understand that. So yeah. I assume people can find the information for that cancer event on your Facebook page, correct?
Yes, as soon as they're still putting it together for this year right now, but as soon as they start giving us the details, we will definitely be sharing that all over the place on Facebook.
Well, folks, this has been Megan Edison. She is the vocalist from the band Writing Off Tomorrow. They're from Morgantown, West Virginia. Check out their album, Flirting with Death. And Megan, I really appreciate you being here on the Rock Show tonight, and I truly enjoyed your live performance a week ago.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.